Hello, this is Sade Ward, and this is my Heidi Roizen oral case analysis. When I think of Heidi Roizen, I think of two stages in her career. I think of the foundational stage, and I think of the structured stage. In the foundational stage, she was building her career and her network, and in the structured stage, she already had this established network, and she was just maintaining those relationships and leveraging them when needed. We first see a strength in her foundational network when she was able to get a job based on knowing someone who knew the hiring manager. And as the editor at that job, she developed a professional relationship with the CEO that led to him writing her a recommendation letter for grad school. After grad school, she started a company with her brother, and they weren't funded by a venture capitalist, so she started networking with journalists and becoming their friends, and use them in a sense to get free advertising to help with their consumer demand problem. Heidi really worked on her network. She joined quite a lot of conferences and forums, and she ultimately joined the SPA, and this was a very strategic and powerful move for her because she eventually became the president of the SPA and was able to meet quite a lot of influential leaders in the software community. After she sold TeamMaker and she joined Apple as the vice president, we really started to see how structured and powerful her network had become. We see that in when Apple was having a little bit of financial decline, and she was able to convince 12,000 software developers to stay working for Apple and making Apple products. We see the core strength of her network when she was able to convince very powerful CEOs to run an ad campaign in support of Apple when Apple had all the turmoil, saying we believe in their product and we stand by them. We continue seeing how strong her network became when she became a mentor capitalist, which is some job description she completely invented. And she said, I will share my contacts with you, I will give you my experience and my advice. In return, I'll get some equity in your company. And startup companies jumped at that because by that time she had already established a celebrity status in the Silicon Valley. And as the case goes on, we see other strengths of her network, finding people jobs, getting new companies in the right doors, some of which were doors to her own house when she had her networking events / house parties. And her established network got her to be board members on multiple boards, and eventually a venture capitalist where she had quite a lot of success. The second question, when I was assessing this case, I saw elements of Adam Grant's giver, taker, and matcher in Heidi Roizen. And I think when she was quite young, she was very much giver. She started a puppet show business to help her mom pay bills. And then when she was in a relationship with her fiance, she kind of ignored her own goals and her own needs to be more of a supporting role for him. She gave him otherishly. And she when he passed in a plane crash, I think it was a pivotal moment in her life because she had to sit and reassess her career goals, but mostly her perceptions of relationship, and I think that followed her through. But here was really important because we saw her transition from a giver to a taker, and I say she was a taker because she took from her friend by getting the job, and then she took from the CEO by getting into Stanford, getting the letter to get into Stanford, and then she took from those journalists by getting free advertising. However, she ultimately became a matcher, and I think this is the best representation of her, and it was the best balance in her life. I think we first saw some of her matcher characteristics when she called in favors for Apple, and we really saw the traits highlighted when she became a mentor capitalist, and she said, hey, I'll give you my Rolodex, but you're going to give me some equity in your company as well. and there was part of the article where it felt like she was reverting back to a giver when she became a venture capitalist, and she would reply to business plans that they were rejecting, and she would give them some feedback. And she said that she was doing that because you never know where these people end up. And to me, that's a very mature thing to say, because she's saying, hey, if they become influential, at least I made this connection now. So I think she was definitely a matcher. In the Uzi and Dunlap article, we learned about brokers, and Heidi was definitely a broker. She loved, her objective in life was helping people meet people. And she did so at work, she did so in her personal life with those house parties she would have. And even when she got very busy, she continued being a broker, but selectively. She started communicating with the nuclei of other networks, or brokers of other networks. She was a double broker. And we also learned about self-similarity principle, and it's a principle where people like to be around or saturate their networks with people that are very much like them, similar views and similar experience. But this was not Heidi. In the article, they said that she would be friends with anyone that she thought was interesting. In the Cialdini article, Harnessing the Science of Persuasion, we learned about the 6 basic principles of winning people, and they were reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, liking, and consensus. And Heidi used this quite a lot, especially reciprocity. You know, she got a lot from her network, and she was willing to give that back and help people make connections. And scarcity, because she didn't always make connections for the sake of making connections. She always made sure that it was a win-win situation. She was trying to connect the right people with the right jobs. Heidi was very much liked. People trusted her expertise and her networking skills, and they hoped that she could guide them on their journeys to success. Thank you.